Hello and welcome to Default Assault, where we take on everything by default. I am Demosthenes, and with me as always is our awesome co-host, Mr. Kyle Nash. How's it going, Kyle?
Well, in honor, let's put it this way. For this episode, this extravaganza, something we've never done before, and all I can say is, what can I say is, except you're welcome. Boom.
And welcoming back our co-host, or special guest co-host from our Harry Potter episode, Miss Jen Juneau, writer for People.com. And man, we're excited to have you back. How's it going, Jen?
It's going good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I love Disney, and here's my new ears. They're the rose gold that I got off eBay because the parks have been sold out, and I didn't want to chance it when I went for my birthday and not be able to get them because I would be sad. So here you go.
Of course, today we will be talking about the Magic Kingdom down at Walt Disney World. And in honor of March Madness, we decided, okay, well, we're going to do something kind of crazy. We're going to take every attraction at the Magic Kingdom and throw them in their own March Madness brackets and see who the overall victor is going to be. First up, we have the Tomorrowland Speedway versus Splash Mountain.
Well, I'm biased because Splash Mountain's actually my favorite ride at Magic Kingdom, so obviously I'm going to go with that. But overall, I think it's a better ride. The Tomorrowland Speedway, if it wasn't on a track, it would have a little bit more edge, like if it was a go-kart deal.
Tomorrowland Speedway. Yeah, let's be clear. No. Okay, we all know how to drive already, most of us. And if you don't, there's better go-kart tracks other places.
Well, it's for kids, but still.
And go-kart tracks are for kids too. Trust me, I've seen it. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to drag this out. We're going to take one for Elsa here. When it comes to the Tomorrowland Speedway, let it go. Moving on.
Yeah, the only fond memories I have of the Tomorrowland Speedway was A, how loud it is, B, how smelly it is, and C, the whiplash I nearly endure every single time. Splash Mountain, it is.
I had no idea the Tomorrowland Speedway was that much like your social life, Demos. Moving on.
Oh, snap.
Well, a lot of bumping and grinding. That sounds quite perfect, if you ask me.
Sure.
So coming up next, we have Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin versus everybody's favorite show, the Hall of Presidents.
Well, the Hall of Presidents is good for one thing, and that's for getting out of the heat if the Splash Mountain line is too long. Buzz Lightyear is really fun. I always like going on that ride, and I think it's fun to compete against your friends and stuff. Buzz Lightyear.
Listen, when it comes to it, Buzz Lightyear is probably a lot more clear on the gun control policy. But listen, I just wanted to make my turn to make the silly joke. No, but that aside, listen, the Hall of Presidents is its own mainstay at the park, but Buzz Lightyear is along with the new generation of shooting gallery that is basically started to permeate through the park, and it's a gimmick that still holds up. The Hall of Presidents has its place, but if you want to go straight on entertainment value alone, miles and miles in favor of Buzz Lightyear. Boom.
I would agree. I'm happy that it exists, but Buzz Lightyear is definitely more fun. Moving on, we've got kind of an underrated attraction, in my opinion. We have Swiss Family Treehouse versus the Haunted Mansion. Tree versus Mansion.
Well, I don't want to downplay the Swiss Family Robinson tree because it's kind of cool, especially for kids. I remember going and just kind of running around and it being a lot of fun. And I really liked that movie as a kid. But you can't, the Haunted Mansion is a classic. I always have to go on it every time I'm at Magic Kingdom just because I love scary stuff, but it's not too scary. There's so many little Easter eggs in that ride that you can just kind of look at and without even going through the ride. Just the gravestones at the beginning are really cool. I used to always read those and laugh, and the little pet graveyard with the Mr. Toad statue in it.
Yeah,
definitely a Haunted Mansion. There's no question, there's no contest there.
It's not just a mainstay, it's a perennial crowd pleaser, and really that you got a whole lot going on. To try to list all the little things that are in the Haunted Mansion, when you start to really break it down, there is a buttload of stuff going on there. And moreover, the staff immersed into the service staff of the mansion itself with their, very macabre presentation are part of the experience in itself in a way that is fully immersive. This is probably the single most unfair matchup for two reasons. One, you got to give the Treehouse its credit. Against another first rounder, it might have passed on, but it is not beating the Haunted Mansion, period. Next up.
All right, here's another one. Two older ones up against each other. We have the Country Bear Jamboree versus It's a Small World.
Both of these are very annoying. I have loved them both at some point in my life, and I don't go back and watch the Country Bear Jamboree anymore. And I remember it being cool, but also like, this is kind of like Chuck E. Cheese. That's cool. It's a Small World I usually ride when I go, just because it really is like one of the first rides that was opened. And I just feel like it's one of the ones, just like the Haunted Mansion, just like Space Mountain. The song gets annoying and it gets stuck in your head, but it's cool to see all like the different cultures represented. And, everyone has a favorite part of that ride. Like, my favorite part is, the platypus pie with the little eggs and the Ferris wheel at the end where all of the kids from all around the world are hanging out in harmony, and the end with like all the goodbyes in different languages is really cool. So I think that definitely wins for me.
I love that little 1 foot section that's dedicated to Greece. That's
oh yeah. I don't even remember it. That's how small it is.
This is probably one of these pairings among the bracket where neither team probably really deserves to move on, but they're going to. And I have to give it to a Small World just by default. That song is hypnotic in a way only that can be matched by what is it? Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Except it's a lot longer than. It's a Small World after all. Will continue to plague you throughout your life, and you won't even mean for it to. And that alone makes it superior here.
I think what's scarier is now I'm envisioning a version of It's a Small World with the Close Encounters aliens.
That would be awesome.
I have to give it to It's a Small World as well. Here's one that I know that Kyle, he's mentioned this ride on the show a few times, and I know you're looking forward to this. We have the Carousel of Progress versus the Walt Disney World Railroad.
It is not a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. It is a big old disgusting next round as the Carousel of Progress, even itself, starting to get passed up by the time we live in currently. But the Disney Railroad is just how I get around the park. Whoopity-doo.
I mean, I'm not one person in the friend group who actually likes the Carousel of Progress. So, shining at the end of every day, it's a good catchy tune. And like, they haven't updated it in 15, 20 years or some crap. Like that last scene where everything is like super high tech, but it's a little bit off, where it's like, kind of, you guys kind of got it right, but also this is super weird.
So this next one, this might be a doozy. We'll see. Space Mountain versus Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid is cool and all, but Space Mountain, again, is a Disney World staple. The cool part about it really is that you feel like you're going so much faster than you are just because you're in the dark, and I think the way the track is and all of that. And it's just one of those rides that as a little kid, you always like, at least I remember like waiting like to be tall enough to go on it. And, that was the ride that like kind of, got you into like, okay, I'm a big kid at Disney now, as I can go on Space Mountain. And Little Mermaid's cool, but like, it's not a fair fight.
It's the most exciting 28 miles an hour you will ever go. I'll give him that.
Having been on Space Mountain the first time way back when, and something was broken, so they had the lights on, and it was still amazing. And then when I actually got to do it with the lights off, I'm like, oh my God, this is even better. Listen, the Little Mermaid experience was great for my daughter. It's not bad. It does its job. Listen, guys, Space Mountain, Jen put it best to say that it's a rite of passage. I wasn't going to go that far, but it is certainly a showing of Disney's versatility to be able to please people of all various age brackets with varied attraction. And Space Mountain, listen, it's one of the key mountains therein. We'll probably have at least 3 rides with mountain in the title past round 2 if things go well. I'm just saying.
This next one, we have the Barnstormer starring the Great Goofini versus the Frontierland Shootin' Arcade.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Barnstormer just because it's been a while since I've done it, but I remember it was fun. Like it's a little roller coaster for kids and everything, but I feel like it's a lot more thrilling than shooting a gun.
You know, I'm going to have to steal one from your repertoire there, Demos. The Barnstormer has its value, sure, but the shooting arcade is a foundation of shooting style games in a fashion that they appear everywhere now, and they're totally innovated, but they are still based on that concept of aim at the thing and make this happen. And it still holds up even today. For my money, just based on that alone, I got to give it to the arcade.
Under any other circumstances, I may have gone with the Barnstormer, if not for the fact that half of the ride's length is the lift hill. That annoys me. But then again, it is designed for little kids. But you know what? The Flying Unicorn, or whatever it's been redubbed now, the Flying Hippogriff at Universal, is far better. And what this ride should have been, I'm actually gonna go for the Shootin' Arcade. If you're talking about Foundation, this next one lives up to that explanation. We're talking the Enchanted Tiki Room versus Tom Sawyer Island.
These are two attractions that should not make it out of the first round, and by default, one of them has to. By default, one of them has to. Yeah.
The second time you said it, I caught it the first time, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm going to go with Tom Sawyer just on the fact that it has an expanse and it's a pretty big experience. They've tried the Tiki Room in more than one iteration. It's been lame as hell every time. They found a way to make Iago lame. That just means you suck at your job. I got Tom Sawyer.
The Tiki Room is one of those things that I did a lot as a kid. My mom really liked it, and she liked to sing the song a lot. I never really cared that much about it. Also, I was obsessed with the movie Tom and Huck starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas in the mid-90s. So I'm going to go ahead and vote for Tom Sawyer Island.
This was an odd pairing as well. Liberty Bell Riverboat versus Mickey's PhilharMagic.
I mean, the Liberty Bell Riverboat is just a boat ride. It's really pretty. Like, I really like it, and I like going over to that area because Tiana and Naveen are over there, and I love the Princess and the Frog, and the whole, aesthetic of it is really beautiful. But I really love Mickey's PhilharMagic. Like, I try and see that every time I go. And just like the 4D aspect with like the smells and like the water and everything is really cool. And I think it's fun for all ages, really. My vote definitely goes for Mickey's PhilharMagic.
The riverboat ride is a steamboat. I can do that in Branson, Missouri, and no one cares. Okay. Moreover, when I did it in Branson, Missouri, it was probably a lot better because that was basically there to go along with the Frontierland piece long before the Princess and the Frog was a thing. That all being said, PhilharMagic, Jen, you said it best, is a fantastic experience. With my background in music that I had when it was a lot bigger in my life when I was younger, for certain, had its own influence on me. I enjoy it thoroughly. And if the answer is plain versus I want more, it's that simple that PhilharMagic takes it home.
I will agree. I am not usually a fan of the 3D shows, but PhilharMagic pretty much shows how you do it right. So for the next one, I actually need to put on my own Disney hats, my goofy pirate ears, because we will be talking about Pirates of the Caribbean versus the Mad Tea Party.
I've been on the Mad Tea Party a few times, and I think it's really fun and whimsical and colorful, and I really love Alice in Wonderland. But when you get down to it, it's really just kind of like a spinny tilt-a-whirl type ride that's not as thrilling. So mechanically, that one would definitely, it just doesn't really stick out for me. But Pirates, it's like one of the classic rides at Disney, like the little drops and We Once the Redhead, just things you can.
They just got rid of that.
I know. So, which fine, I get it. As a feminist, I understand. But also, I don't know. I think it just has its parts that people are always, are quoting. I think that's really cool. So.
That's a ride that they just keep changing, like every 10 years, making it more politically correct. And I don't know. I think they're going to get to a point where they're taking it maybe a little too far. These are pirates aren't reputable characters.
Yes.
I think I'm not a fan of them putting Jack Sparrow in it.
No, I agree.
I just think that's really gimmicky, and I'm, just not about it. But overall, I think it still holds up. Maybe ask again in 5 years, and maybe Mad Tea Party would win out. But right now, Pirates still reigns.
Well, at least it didn't put Eddie Murphy in the Haunted Mansion ride. We can all
Oh
be.
my God, I would boycott.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad somebody here brought up the fact that pirates aren't necessarily good guys, okay? So, them shouting out that they want the redhead is kind of a thing they do. It's up there with, hyenas doing, a Naziist march under a scar. Villains are going to do villainous shiznit. I'm just saying. That being said, when you're talking about a total experience, Pirates is going to take it all day. It's the teacups. First of all, you have to be of a particular level of intestinal fortitude to be able to survive it, which I apparently happen to be. Apparently, Jen is as well. But if you're that person that can't get past the factor, that's fine. And listen, it's cute they got the big teapot in the middle and the mouse sticks his head up and all that. Great. But the experience on the whole within the ride itself for Pirates is just far more drawn out. For goodness sakes, they got a good movie out of it. I don't care how many other installments there were after that, Demos. I said they got one good movie out of it. That all being said, I got Pirates on this particular round. It's not something that's going to win the tournament, but it definitely deserves to win a battle of a staple like this.
Jungle Cruise versus the Prince Charming Regal Carousel. I hate the new name. I will always call it Cinderella's Carousel.
Listen, man, the carousel is a staple, but it's a staple at every park, fair, and attraction. Hell, they're even on cruise ships now, wherever you find them. Which, by the way, Jungle Cruise, I'm calling it right here, the single most underrated attraction probably on the campus. That being said, I got the Jungle Cruise all day. I mean, the silly rapport and the bad puns, and depending on the driver, again, this is, or the captain rather, again, this is another example where the Disney employees are allowed to shine to be a part of the experience. And the exact opposite perhaps of the Haunted Mansion, but definitely something that gets a lot of credit and enough, in my opinion, to get it past the first round.
Far be it from us to complain about puns, but
or you, right, Demos? Anyway.
Hey, I think that's a ride that really depends. What makes or breaks that attraction, as you said, Kyle, I think is the skipper.
I really like the Jungle Cruise, and I think it's underrated. It's definitely another one of those staples, but it's one of the ones that you kind of think like, oh, yeah, Jungle Cruise, because it's just not given as much attention.
So up next, we have Big Thunder Mountain Railroad versus Dumbo the Flying Elephant.
Oh, man. This is a bracket that you screwed up, Demos, and in a good way, though. You got two tough ones. This matchup came up way too early in this tournament. But listen, for me, Dumbo has its memories, and the line being long as hell is the biggest one for me. They've done a lot to repair that. That being said, dude, Thunder Mountain all day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. Like, I really love Thunder Mountain. I like the slight ricketiness feeling of the track. Having gone to Disney World my whole life, I'm used to like the coasters being a little bit, they're not the smoothest ride ever, but then, you go on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train now and you're like, damn, that's smooth. And then you go on Big Thunder Mountain, you're like, cool, I think I'm going to die. Maybe I'm going to die today, but at least I will have died on a cool ride,
Well, it is the wildest ride in the wilderness, so.
Yeah, that's true. And they do warn you and all of that. But yeah, it definitely goes to Thunder Mountain because just for the nostalgia aspect and the fact that it's just a fun little roller coaster,
This next one, its name has changed quite a few times from the People Mover to the Tomorrowland Transit Authority to currently the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. Dear God, this is a ride with an identity crisis. So we have the People Mover versus the Magic Carpets of Aladdin.
If you're judging just based on like entertainment value alone for like a random person who just went to the park, I could see where they would probably pick the carpets. But the People Mover was just always something that if the lines were crazy anywhere else, or if we had a fast pass and had to wait a little while to go on Space Mountain, or like, we just ate a huge turkey leg, it was always like a nice little just reprieve like from the day just to go and hang out in the People Mover and like, tongue in cheek, like make fun of it, but secretly love just like hanging out for a little bit.
The People Mover has its purpose. It has its own appeal. It's not getting past round one, though. You got to give it the carpets.
I have to go with the People Mover myself. It's one of the most relaxing rides at Disney, and Aladdin as a concept and as a movie deserves better than a spinner. We have to give it to the People Mover. Here are another two Fantasyland rides. We have the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, aka the Mr. Toad Killer, versus Enchanted Tales with Belle. And Jen, since you're such a huge Beauty and the Beast fan, I have to give this to you first.
So I love Winnie the Pooh a lot. I grew up with it. I was obsessed with it for a long time. And I think the ride is really cute. It's good for kids. It's like similar to me kind of to the Cat in the Hat ride at Islands of Adventure. And it's really fun, so I don't want to like, shit on it. But I really like the Enchanted Tales with Belle. It's very cool that it takes you like through the story and they pick kids to play the different parts, and it's so cute. The one playing the Beast like roar really loud and Belle come out and like all the kids' faces light up, and I'm gonna go with Enchanted Tales with Belle.
I'm so glad that you don't want to shit on Pooh.
Toad Killer versus the thing that actually scared my daughter out of the experience. That was interesting. Listen, all day, every day. It may not be the ride's fault, but I found Pooh to be underwhelming after they took Toad out of here. I like what they're going for with that experience. I'm looking forward to doing it again with my daughter. Now that she has a Belle gown that she still loves to wear, courtesy of Miss Jen.
Oh, does she still fit in it?
Yeah, for now. Belle all day because bleep Pooh right in its face.
Speaking of killers, we have Timekeeper Killer, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor versus Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Monsters Inc. is my favorite Pixar movie.
Really?
Yeah, which is not a very popular opinion, but I think it's really cute, and the back and forth between Mike and Sully is really funny. That being said, like none of that is really in the Laugh Floor show. It's really cute and funny, and it's got Roz, and like the dynamic between Roz and Mike is really funny too. And I really enjoy it, and the jokes are always like funny, and the way they pick on people is really funny. But it's really hard to beat the Mine Train. Like objectively, it might be the best ride at Magic Kingdom. It's not my number one, but it's in my top like 3. The only gripe I have about it at all is that it's too short.
I do agree. It feels very short. I mean, it feels like it just covers half the movie. I mean, it ends with the witch knocking on the door. Spoiler alert, I guess. It was originally designed to be far longer.
So let me get this straight. You have an experience that doesn't last all that long. Sure, the animatronics in there are really good. And I am at a bit of a disadvantage. I've not personally experienced the ride as yet. Yet the very same things you move the Woodway People Mover forward with, the opportunity to relax, to get right, to find your bearings, that you get on the Laugh Floor, which along with some genuine entertainment, and you're going to put an incomplete experience ahead of it. I can't sign off on that. I have the Laugh Floor.
Oh,
I respect that.
I have to break this tie. I do agree with Jen on the Laugh Floor as kind of an underrated attraction. It's fun. I remember being picked as that guy, and I think that the best experiences I had was one of my jokes actually got picked as one of the 3 at the very end where people get to vote on.
Yeah.
And hearing about 300 people all groan at the same time gave me some more morbid satisfaction.
Of course it did.
Just on a technical level, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, up until you realize it's over, it's an incredible ride. Well, speaking of ending too soon, we're at our last matchup in round 1. Peter Pan's Flight versus the Astro Orbiter. God, Magic Kingdom has a lot of spinner rides.
I can only remember ever riding the Astro Orbiter once, but we waited a while and it was like not that great. So Peter Pan is always a crowd pleaser. The line's always astronomical, so every time I go, including the time I'm going in a couple of weeks, I get a fast pass because I really love it. I just think that story is very indicative of how Disney parks fans like you and I, Demos, feel as we get older. Like there's always part of you that is still a kid, especially when you go somewhere like Disney.
At Days End, listen, with the Astro Orbiter, you have the advantage of having a really good view being that high up, and it's still inferior to an excellent view that's made fake via miniatures of London as you're first taking off. That particular moment alone is better than the entire time spent on the Astro Orbiter. It's Peter Pan, and it's not close.
on to round 2. This one's going to be interesting. We're starting immediately off with Splash Mountain versus Buzz Lightyear.
Oof.
I mean, this definitely isn't a contest for me. Splash Mountain is my favorite ride. You know, like it's got the thrill, it's got the classic aspect where it's like, you know, uniquely Disney World.
Listen, this is something that if you go to the park for a full day, you have to hit one of these two. No question about it. But at the end of the day, while I may have my biases against log flumes, this is easiest, the best one out there. And listen, Buzz Lightyear is a great experience, but it doesn't beat whatever you do. Just don't throw me on the bra patch. Splash Mountain all day, folks.
We have 2 originals here, and they're both scary in their own way. We have Haunted Mansion versus It's a Small World.
For the Haunted Mansion and for It's a Small World, you're left with the devastating concept of a specter following you home either way. In the case of the Haunted Mansion, it's the hitchhiking ghosts. In the case of It's a Small World, it's that damn song like I talked about. But at the end of the day, the Haunted Mansion has something that It's a Small World doesn't, and that's the staff being immersive in the experience. Haunted Mansion.
I mean, to It's a Small World's credit, if the staff got really immersed in their roles, it would be like super extra creepy, which actually might add to it for me. So maybe that's not a good point. But anyways, definitely the Haunted Mansion wins for me just because I have to ride it every time. And just the same points that I said before, those outweigh, I think, the classic feel that It's a Small World will always have.
Here is possibly the matchup of the evening. 2 Tomorrowland staples, Space Mountain versus the Carousel of Progress. This is going to be a tough one. I'm ready for the battle.
I think Kyle and I are going to agree that Space Mountain's the better ride. Like, Carousel of Progress is great for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier. It has a special place in my heart, and I really like it, and I like the song. But as far as entertainment factor goes, Space Mountain wins all the way.
Yeah, that's right. The fate of Tomorrowland is saved. The great, big, beautiful tomorrow is the Carousel of Progress being soundly defeated. Next.
I will say that the randomization of this did give us a particularly interesting matchup here of the Frontierland Shooting Arcade versus Tom Sawyer Island.
I mean, like I said before, I'm not really a gun fan. I mean, I like Buzz Lightyear. I like doing those things. When I have like a real feeling gun in my hand, I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, it has to be kitschy and cartoony for me to really enjoy it. So I'm gonna go Tom Sawyer's Island, I think.
The arcade is pretty kitschy and cartoony. Like, it's basically an animatronic that you make move if you hit the target. I don't know. For me, listen, I'm gonna pull the business argument on this one to double down with the foundational argument. For the space it takes up and the amount of fun that you can have, Tom Sawyer's, that whole experience, it takes up a lot of space and trying to do all that. Listen, at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to keep the foundational argument. Maybe Tom Sawyer's Island, I was too old to actually experience properly when it was actually opened up. But I got the arcade on this one, too. This is definitely our Cinderella so far, getting this far into the tournament. I never would have thought so, but it's going to win a second round at here, it looks like.
You know, I'm actually going to give it to Tom Sawyer Island, and I'll tell you why. Because Frontierland Shooting Arcade requires you to pay extra for it. God damn it.
Good point.
If you're spending $150 on a single day ticket per person, don't give me that crap that you want extra dollar to have this little experience. Tom Sawyer Island, it is. I am shocked that Tom Sawyer Island made it this far, to be honest. But this next one I think is going to be tough for you guys. Mickey's PhilharMagic versus Pirates of the Caribbean.
Tam, this is hard. Because I want to say Pirates because it's a go-to and you don't think of Disney World without Pirates. But I personally think I enjoy the PhilharMagic show more. I think if I picked Pirates, it would be based on nostalgia. And I think given some of the changes that have been made that we discussed previously, I'm going to have to give it to PhilharMagic.
If it wasn't for the movie, Pirates of the Caribbean would already be gone. That's all I need to say. PhilharMagic goes next round.
Whoa, that is a shocking elimination right there. Sorry, Demos.
Next up, we have Jungle Cruise versus Thunder Mountain.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, Jungle Cruise. I'm glad you made it out of the first round. You just had a really unfortunate second. you have somebody that's going to probably compete for the tournament win here.
Jungle Cruise is really great, but Thunder Mountain is just more fun of a ride.
Yeah, 100%. This might be an interesting matchup here. The People Mover versus Enchanted Tales with Belle.
How in the hell is the People Mover this far in? How?
And you have no idea how many people absolutely adore the People Mover.
Yeah, most validated perversion that this happened. Belle, next.
I'm gonna go People Mover, and
Stop it.
And half because I know it will upset Kyle so bad, and it's funny watching him have a conniption. But no, I just really love the People Mover. Like, but I feel like if Belle was a little bit older and had been around longer, maybe I would have like a more nostalgic connection to it. And I really love Beauty and the Beast, like as you guys know. But
not enough for the People Mover, apparently.
no, the People Mover for some reason is just like that one thing where it's like everyone has like a really bad, weird thing that they like, whether it's like a movie or a band or something or a TV show. And I feel like that's the People Mover to all like Disney Parks fans.
Here's the thing. The idea of Enchanted Tales with Belle, I think it's a good one. It is a lot more than a meet and greet, even though it ends with the meet and greet aspect to it. I love that effect that it has at the beginning where it takes you from the cottage to the castle. I think that's pretty cool. But in all honesty, that entire section of the park dedicated to Beauty and the Beast, and that not being a ride, there should be a Beauty and the Beast ride back there. It's like having an entire section of your park dedicated to Tangled, and the most exciting part of that are the restrooms.
Yeah.
People Mover all the way.
Yeah.
It's this whole entire experience. I am the only thing credible remaining here, okay?
If there's one thing that I do enjoy in my experiences at theme parks, are attractions that actually move. I rest my case.
Yeah.
Speaking of the People Mover, let's move on to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train versus Peter Pan's Flight.
That is tough.
Literally one of Fantasyland's oldest attractions versus their newest. Old concept versus new technology.
Yeah, this is ultra tough. Listen, the aesthetic in both rides are fantastic. I'm going to have to give it to the Diamond Mine on a technicality because the ride is more designed for me personally now. The spectacle in Peter Pan is the visuals and everything that's going on there, and it is absolutely beautiful. And so too is the Diamond Mine, but it too is kind of a coaster at the same time as well.
This is hard for me, but again, I feel like if I picked Peter Pan, it would be based on nostalgia. That would be the tiebreaker. I just feel like the Mine Train is more entertaining of a ride overall, and I think it's really only because it has newer technology on its side, which kind of isn't fair to Peter Pan, and I'm sad to eliminate it, but yeah, I would be lying if I said that was, Peter Pan was a better ride. It's not.
Let me offer this argument to see if it possibly dissuades you both, right? So both rides have a good experience to them. They both provide an awesome experience. But when it comes to the best Disney attractions, for me, it's always been a combination, and this is what really sets Disney apart. It's always been a combination of experience and storytelling. And if you were to compare the storytelling between the Snow White ride and the Peter Pan ride is far, far stronger with that aspect, especially with what I said earlier. It feels like you're only going through just half the movie. You're just experiencing little snippets of these characters from the Snow White film. So for me, I think that it's really that combination that gives Peter Pan an edge. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if it's about the story, Demos, it's called Diamond Mine, not Snow White. And because of that, the focus being where it is. Listen, you go in, you see him screwing around with some gems, they get hi-ho in there, and you get going. It's interesting that it's a song, it's a movie, it's a ride featuring hi-ho as a song, and it's wham bam, thank you, ma'am. But that's pretty much what the experience should be. I think the argument that they made successfully is, hey, it's called Diamond Mine. The focus is the dwarves, who were really arguably the stars of the movie.
Very much so.
I'm okay with it. I actually, the point you make actually reinforces that the dwarves finally got the feature in the park that they should have all along.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. I feel like Snow White isn't the strongest film story wise, and I feel like it's not the movie's fault. You know, it's like the um, kind of the fault of the times, and I think the dwarfs definitely are the standout reason that that movie has the love that it does. Um, so I definitely think that them leaving out part of the story was probably twofold in the sense like, okay, yeah, they didn't have the bandwidth or manpower to make the whole thing, but also you have to think about this Snow White's scary adventures that was there, and it freaked kids out. Like kids were like the witch scene freaked kids out.
That was the best part.
I know, and like as an older kid or an adult, like it's fine. Same with the Mr. Toad's hell scene.
Like
Um,
I withstood that transition, but hearing about it scaring kids later was like, yeah, I get it.
I will say I do agree with you guys that the dwarfs are really the stars, and I will cap that off by saying that the one character that has the true and strongest character arc in Snow White is Grumpy.
Oh hell yeah!
Grumpy.
Totally.
Listen, I'm not going to go to sleep on this idea. I won't be bashful about any of it, and you don't have to be a doctor to recognize. And in fact, be happy that you see this. You're dopey if you think that Grumpy had the best character arc.
Damn, I'm like super impressed that you just did that, and also upset you left out Sneezy.
Is that better?
Yeah, if you sneezed at the end, that would just that was good.
We're in round 3. We have 4 more matchups, and there are some surprising ones left over. But the first one is a doozy. Splash Mountain versus Haunted Mansion.
Oh no! No, this bracket sucks.
Bullshit. No, I am not okay with this. I love Splash Mountain. I have said before, it's my favorite ride. It's super fun, but I'm gonna give it to Haunted Mansion because Haunted Mansion just never lets me down. The cast is always super into it. There's always little intricate stuff to discover. I feel like I see something new every time I go on that ride.
I hope you guys agree so I don't have to make this decision.
Well, Demos, you may have a tough thing on your hands.
Son of a bitch.
I am going to deliver a take that might be construed as controversial. I said earlier on, and I hinted earlier on, that to me, log flumes are kind of one-trick ponies. It's water. You're in a log. You're going to hit a drop eventually. And Splash Mountain does a good job of disguising, hey, oh, it's the drop, psych. And then it tells you, remember the briar patch in this story? Because for you mothers who do, you know this is the climax. And if you don't, the extra bit of horizon you see before the last second is only anything that tips you off before you go. That all being said, it's a log flume. It's the briar patch. It's the log flume and briar patch every time. There are 999 things I have seen on the Haunted Mansion, but there's plenty of room for 1,000th one that I haven't seen yet. And it's that fact that it's still New Year's later. I got the Haunted Mansion.
They're both quality rides. They're both very long, which I like. I like long rides. If you're going to wait 2.5 hours to get on a freaking ride, I hope it's longer than 2 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Which leads us to another tough one. We've got Space Mountain versus Tom Sawyer Island. Guys, I'm sorry to put you in this position to have to make this choice.
Oh my god, just
Jesus.
do we even have to have this discussion actually? Is this a discussion?
Oh yeah, Tom Sawyer Island it is.
No, definitely Space Mountain. I'm not even going to explain because it's like
This shows the weakness of the bracket. This is just the way it was unfortunately paired.
No, Space Mountain it is. Which leads us to Mickey's PhilharMagic versus Thunder Mountain.
It's been unfortunate that Thunder Mountain has had to take out a fan favorite previously, and it's going to have to do it again. I'm going to have to tie Donald to a tree, and he is not going to find the baton this time. Instead, he is going to be pounded repeatedly. Thunder Mountain, folks, all day, every day here. It's an experience that none other. It still makes my heart kind of stop when I ride it, which is kind of scary since I'm damn near 40 and kind of a fat guy. So I got Thunder Mountain here. PhilharMagic, I'm glad you lasted as long as you did, but the Elite Eight is where your ride must end, sir.
It really should be called Donald's PhilharMagic.
Agreed. But hey, He listen, we know who gets the short end of the stick with all that. I'm just saying.
Or the short end of the baton.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's always Donald that's stuck with the bill.
Oh my God, you guys. I can't keep up with this. Filler Magic is great, but Thunder Mountain is very fun. And I think no matter how old we get, I mean, I'm sure there's like a point of no return where it starts getting scarier again. Probably around, maybe your age, Kyle. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
The wildest heart attack in the wilderness.
Right. Yeah. Do that.
Oh, wow. The People Mover versus Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Listen, the fact you fools have let this thing last this long. Okay, can we please extract that Jen from this mine, please?
Yes. The Mine Train beats the People Mover. I'll give it up.
Shouldn't have beaten the laugh floor, damn it. Anyway.
I'm sorry. The laugh floor is good, but the Mine Train's better.
It's the final four.
Moving on, we've got Haunted Mansion versus Space Mountain.
The two experiences make use of darkness to make themselves work. And they do it very effectively. But at the end of the day, to quote my good friend Demos, Space Mountain is the most exciting 28 miles an hour you'll ever experience. And the Haunted Mansion is so much more. I got the mansion.
Oh my God. You're freaking me out. I thought you were going to pick Space Mountain because, like, obviously Space Mountain, right? But you know what? I like Splash Mountain better than Space Mountain, and that is not in anymore. And I just love the Haunted Mansion for reasons I've already stated. So I agree. Haunted Mansion beats Space Mountain for me.
I wouldn't normally agree with somebody who lost so badly during that Rogue One debate, but in this particular case, it has to be Haunted Mansion.
First of all, Chief, if you're going to make credibility arguments, bracket had the goddamn People Mover in the Elite Eight.
It deserves that spot, Kyle. It won fair and square.
I cannot argue with our guest. It's there. Which brings us to two mine trains.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Thunder Mountain versus Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
I feel like overall the better ride experience as far as like the actual movement of the ride and the graphics, those edges go to Dwarfs Mine Train for sure. But Thunder Mountain is just a longer ride. It's got that thrill factor that goes back to my youth, and it just fits in with, it's like the centerpiece of Frontierland.
A thrilling ride that just lasts longer is an excellent way not only to describe Demos's social life, but also Thunder Mountain. Here's the truth, though. You're giving me all this stuff about the Diamond Mine and its visuals, but let's be clear. A lot of the stuff going on and with, and you have to ride it multiple times because it's going so damn fast. Maybe that's part of the gimmick. I don't know. But you're like, is that a goat? You got a busted up wagon there at some point, and you're like, is that a smiling pig that just spit water? What's going on there? And there's so much more going on there than your mind can actually remember. I'm not even sold that the aesthetic is better than Thunder Mountain in this.
Yeah, Thunder Mountain, you have made it.
Wow. The only mountain left. Dang, good job, Thunder Mountain.
Which leads us to a rather surprising final two. Haunted Mansion versus Thunder Mountain.
Listen, the Haunted Mansion is a great experience. It does what it does well. And even though it's called haunted and it can be, air quotes, not really scary, it's got its scary moments and enough so to really make you think. And hey, listen, when I was younger, the hitchhiking ghost scared the Jesus out of me. I know one time I checked the car and never told anybody about it just to make sure I was assured that they were fake. But the lasting impression that I have, even to still this day as a kid, is when I did ride Thunder Mountain. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the quintessential roller coaster, and it still is to this day. If you want to be judged as a badass coaster, the bar that you must clear, the bar that is set, is Big Thunder Mountain. If you're not there, get the hell out of my boardroom. You have no business there. And that very standard, maybe it's a foundation argument I'm applying here, Demos, I don't know. But the thing is, it is how coasters should start in design and be done in execution. I have Big Thunder Mountain taking this thing home.
I really love both of these rides a lot for very different reasons. Um, if I had to pick one, like if I could only ride one of them for the rest of my life,
Hmm.
I would probably pick the Haunted Mansion just because I don't know, I feel a special connection to that ride more so than Thunder Mountain, but it also doesn't feel right as the best ride at Magic Kingdom either. You know, like it's an amazing iconic attraction. It's not Walt Disney World without the Haunted Mansion, and I think all the updates that they've made to ours over the years have been really cool. Like the room with the bride who like chops off the heads of all of her husbands. You know, that's
The
really creepy.
staircases.
And the
Yeah.
staircases right before. Yeah. You know what? I think I just convinced myself that it's going to be the Haunted Mansion actually for all that.
All
You
right.
know,
I want to watch Demo squirm. It's okay.
No, actually,
couldn't be easy for the last one, right?
well, for me, it is a little bit. I love Thunder Mountain. I think it's a fantastic ride. It's a lot of fun. There is more to it than just you're riding around in a train. There are so many extra details going through the town. Haunted Mansion as a piece of storytelling, very layered. There's so much going on to that ride, so much detail. This is a Disney ride where you have a ballroom where two portraits come alive and start dueling. It's incredible. And of all the main songs throughout all the Disney parks, especially the classic songs, It's a Small World, Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, Imagination, Grim Grinning Ghosts takes the cake. Those busts, incredible. Everything it's a feast for the eyes. Or a feast for the soul if you end up as the 1,000th ghost. Yeah, Haunted Mansion all the way. It wouldn't feel like the Magic Kingdom without the Haunted Mansion.
I got no beef with this being number one. Just like I'm glad to see Thunder Mountain make it to the final. I'm perfectly happy with that result.
Woohoo!
So what do you guys think? What is your favorite attraction at the Magic Kingdom? Is it the Haunted Mansion? Were we right? Were we dead wrong? Are you as surprised as us that the People Mover, or even more so, the Frontierland Shooting Arcade made as far as they did? Let us know in the comments below. Jen Juneau, thank you so much for joining us yet again. Please tell us where can we find you and your works?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Words with Jen, all one word, Words with Jen, or on people.com at people.com/author/Jen with one N. And yeah, or I have a website, Jen Juneau, Juneau spelled like the capital of Alaska, JUNEAU.com.
Awesome. Links will be down in the description below.
Many thanks for coming aboard, Jen. Of course, you can find me. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. I am on Twitter at the SOTG. And of course, you can find me on Facebook as the student of the game. And of course, my first installment of the Sports Fans Guide to Nerd Culture has dropped, both on Hilarity by default.com and on ngscsports.com. A little joint venture action here between the two sites because, hey, this is how nerds and jocks come together, writing stuff about sports and nerdy culture of comic books.
And of course, you can find me at hilaritybydefault.com for weekly movie reviews and other fun stuff, on Twitter at defaulthilarity, and on Facebook, Hilarity by Default. And this is Default Assault reminding you that life is truly hilarious by default.